the Breezy Point City Council for December 7th. It is 7 p.m. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is the consent calendar. You have before you the council minutes from November 2nd, 2015, and the approval of claims totaling $40,927.01. With that is checks 130, electronic checks 1392E, 1394E, paper checks 132,352 through 132,354. and 132,364 through 132,427. Is there anything that anybody would like to have removed from the consent calendar?
I'll move the consent calendar, Mayor.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar is approved. Next order of business is the open forum. Anybody that wants to come before the city council and bring to attention anything either on the agenda or not on the agenda, they can do so now. Open forum is open.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Council. Doug Schmitz, here representing my son tonight, who lives 29308 County Road 4. It's the last house south of town by the lift station. I guess the question I have is asking about the sewer backup that happened back in October. Question I have is, does the city have any policies and procedures in place when that situation occurs? What they do after hours on callback or anything? Does the city have any policies or procedures in writing?
I believe so, don't we?
And will I be able to get a copy of them?
Go ahead, Joe.
There's not,
Oh,
largely because of the many different possibilities. If I would try to list every possibility, that could get cumbersome. Largely it relies on your experience and at the situation, because the situations can be very different, from a line blockage, power outage, traffic hitting lift stations.
okay. Then the short answer to your question is no, we don't have specific written procedures on it. We just have instructions as to what needs to happen.
Okay. And then a follow-up question. I know there was some drainage that happened on Lake Shore Road or whatever that came out of the storm sewers. Question I have is, was EPA or PCA called on those spills running into the water?
I don't believe so.
We observed less than 20 gallons that escaped out of a manhole, which is below the threshold where you'd have to contact the MPCA, and it went down as soon as the pumps were reactivated.
That's one more question.
Okay.
Where the lift station is, they have a red light on there, and I was told the light's always red. When there's a problem, it gets a darker red. Is that true?
That was how it was originally wired, correct?
Could I suggest maybe having it blue if it's good, and red if it's, so any of us that know, I'm speaking on behalf of the city I come from. That's how we have it. Ours, they're blue if they're good, and if it's a problem, it's red. It's not a red and then a dark red. I mean, to me, red's red. So that's just a suggestion. But
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else for open forum? Okay. Open forum is closed. Next item of business is the budget for 2016. And Joe, I'll let you start this, and then we will have the public comments for the budget.
We're going to talk a little bit about the 2016 budget and levy. If you're here about the value of your property, that's a meeting of the Board of Equalization in April. So that's not what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to start a little bit with just some history on the levy. You can see we've got the levy listed for 2014 and 2015. It was $1,758,080. In 2016, the proposed levy is $1,798,063. It's a $39,983 increase, or 2.22%. This slide is it's got a lot of stuff on it, a little too much stuff really, but I guess what I want to show you is there's the operating revenue budget and the operating expenditure budget. The operating revenue budget for 2015 was $2,170,228, and for 2016 it's proposed at $2,209,263. If you look at the expenditure budget, 2015 we're at $2,264,513. And for 16, it's $2,301,018. When we look at finances on an annual basis, we kind of try to look at what we've accomplished and what goals are necessary and kind of where we're going. There's a number of items here that you can read at your leisure if you'd like. I'm going to go over a couple, well, actually 4 of them. Starting with number 1, the proposed levy increase for 2016 budget is $39,983. Final levy is the same as what was proposed for the preliminary levy. This represents a 2.22% increase in levy. The projected tax rate is 42.617. This is reduced from last year at 44.175. Moving to number 4, the revolving capital fund continues to be used to moderate expenditures and establish a resource base for large expenditures such as equipment and road improvements. The current balance in this fund is in excess of $1.1 million. Going to number 8, the 2005 and the 2008 improvement bonds were paid off, and the assessment income received on these bonds is earmarked for additional road improvements. And then on number 11, a road paving project was accomplished in 2015. Using existing funds to finance the project, it is anticipated that improvements will continue to be paid for using existing revenues rather than incurring debt. It's a pie chart showing the operating revenue budget for 2016. You can see the largest component of that is property taxes at 72%. The next largest is debt service, which is also property tax, but it's pledged towards debt. The next in line for revenues is other revenues at 5%, and you can see the small amounts that we incur in other areas. Here's a bar chart of operating revenues comparisons over the last 5 years. It's actually 2016. This was a typo. The whole thing should be slipped over. You'll see that the revenues have decreased a little bit for debt service. Revenues have increased a little bit for charges of service. Intergovernmental revenue have increased as well. And property taxes are seeing a little increase with the shift of the way things are going. Pie chart again. This time the operating expenditure budget. The largest expenditure by far is the public safety. That's followed up quickly with other general government. This is the category we use for public improvements and seal coating, and so it carries quite a large amount of capital intensive items. The third area is, public works at 16%. Again, a bar chart showing the historical trends for the various expenditures that we have. You can see that debt service has come down dramatically in the last 2 years with the payoff of those bonds. We're seeing a slight decrease in public works. Public safety is up a little bit, and so is other general government, as we discussed earlier. When we talk about taxes, everybody thinks about levy. Levy amounts are what Each jurisdiction, the county, the city, the school districts levy on an annual basis, but there are other things that affect your taxes. Referendums like school bonds will affect your taxes. Market value homestead credit will affect your taxes. This is a mechanism whereby the value of your property is reduced through this homestead credit, and it's a sliding scale, as you can see. Market value, as your market value changes with increases or decreases to your property value, that will change your taxes. Changes in the taxing jurisdiction overall. As the city increases its property tax wealth, they'll get additional value which can be used to offset the taxes. The more property value you have, presumably the lower the cost of taxes should be. And then finally, classification changes. These are somewhat rare. They're usually legislative, but a real-life example might be a residential property being changed to commercial activities. You'll see a change in your taxation. In Minnesota, we have a very complicated taxation system. We start with market value, and we change market value into tax capacity. Tax capacity is the value assigned to your property, and it is the value that your property tax is calculated on. So you start with your market value of your property, and it's residential and commercial have different rates. A residential rate of up to $500,000 in value will see a 1% rate. A commercial property up to $150,000 will see a 1.5. Properties over $2,000 are 2%. So when we look at a residential homestead property, start with $100,000. The adjustment with homestead credit gets us to $71,760. That results in a tax capacity of $718. If you look at the $200,000 property, the adjusted market value is $180,760. That results in a tax capacity of $1,803. Commercial properties pay more because their rates are higher. And so a $500,000 property will see a tax capacity of $9,250. A $2 million property will see a tax capacity of $39,250. Keep in mind, the tax capacity is what you're taxed on. That's the value that they use for taxes. So this is a bar chart that shows a 10-year history of our tax capacity in Breezy Point. You'll see the lowest tax capacity is in 2006. The highest is in 2010 at $5,396,414. We saw quite a number of years of decline, and in 2015 we saw a small uptick, and now for 2013 we're seeing a rather large increase in tax capacity, going to $4,249,337. Another way to illustrate what tax capacity does and how it affects your overall taxes and the city's ability to finance its operations is looking at these figures. In 2013, the market value for Breezy Point was $405 million. The taxable market value then, which is the homestead exclusion taken out, became $385,000 million. Tax capacity then is $4,067,625. The levy that year was $1,719,080. That resulted in a tax rate of 42.2%. So 1% of that tax rate reaps $40,672 in taxes. Carrying that forward in 2014, we see that 1% gets us $39,455. In 2015, it gets us a little more, $39,761. And now for 2016, it's projected to get us $42,493. That's what the increase in value gets us as we move forward with greater tax capacity. So here we have a bar chart. Again, 10 years worth of tax rate history. And you'll see that we had a high rate in 2006. That was the lowest rate for tax capacity, and so that would correspond to some extent because these are somewhat inverse proportionally. But you'll see in 2014 we saw an increase in that tax rate. It was dropped slightly in 2015, and now we're seeing a reduction again in 2016. This is about 1.5 percentage rates on the taxes itself for that year. When we think about taxes, we got to think about who's the recipient of those taxes. And as we talked about before, there's three primary jurisdictions that levy taxes: the city, school district, and the county. Here you'll see the city takes the majority of the cost, the county takes up some, and the school district then picks up that share. So what does this mean for Breezy Point in terms of our taxes? How does this work? Well, in 2015, we had a tax capacity of $3,976,053. For 2016, we're looking at this number of $4,249,337. It's a gain of 6.8% in tax capacity. Working that down with the tax rate that's been projected to 42.617, the $100,000 home in 2015 had city taxes alone of $317. For 2016, that city tax is $306, savings of about 11 cents, or $11, excuse me. And that $200,000 residential home had a tax in 2015 of $796. For 2016, it's projected at $768, or a savings of $28. Commercial property sees a wider disparity or change. $500,000 property would have a tax in 2015 of $4,085. In 2016, it's $3,942, or a change of $144. $2 million property in 2015 would see a tax capacity of $17,335.16. The tax in 2016 is $16,727, or a savings of $608. So finally, how do we compare to our neighbors? This is a bar chart that kind of shows the tax rates for the various areas in our immediate area. It's not really fair to compare cities against cities because they all have their peculiar needs and also tax base. When you look at Nisswa and Cross Lake, you see they've got a huge tax base and their tax rate has been kept low. There's other cities that have significantly less tax base and their tax rate is significantly higher. But when we look at Breezy Point at 42.62%, I think we're doing pretty good in comparison. We're less than Baxter, we're less than Brainerd, and a bunch of these other cities. So from that perspective, I think we're doing pretty well. So with that, I'll conclude my comments. The entire budget is in your packet if you'd like to look at individual line items or departments and see where they're at and how they have changed over time. And with that, I'll answer any questions that you or the council may have.
Okay. Does the council have any questions for Joe at this point? So at this point, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody that wants to have comments on the budget or have any questions on the budget, come to the microphone, state your name and address, and ask your questions. Here's your chance to ask questions from the experts, which is Joe.
That's
Okay?
Pamela, hi. Do I have to give my address?
Yes, you have to say your address.
29828 Lakeshore Drive, Breezy Point. Just from a naive perspective, does this mean our taxes are going down then? Did I interpret that right?
Yes, for the city, it's going down slightly based. If your value stays the same, your taxes will go down slightly. If you see a change in your value going up, your taxes may go up as a whole. The county went down 1%, the city went down 1.5%. The school district, I didn't calculate their percentage increase, but they went up considerably.
Okay, thanks.
No other comments from the public, so we'll close the public hearing on that. I will entertain a motion to approve the budget for 2016.
so moved.
Your second.
Second.
Councilman Bakken, any comments?
A brief one. Most of you all out there know me. I've been involved in most of the city operations over the last many years. Kathy can remember that by now. And this is the first time as a sitting council member, my second term, that I had the opportunity to be part of the finance committee. And I want to thank the mayor for that appointment. I did a little knee jerk when I was appointed, but I really had my eyes open this year being a part of that. I can attest, and I think the administrator has done a great job with the city over the last year. Janae Roxburgh is a superb accountant, superb. I'm very impressed with her. And of course, that goes without saying. So I just wanted to lend that little bit of testimony to it, and I'm very comfortable with where the city is right now, and I firmly believe we're in very, very good shape.
Councilman Williams.
I have another question.
Councilman Schmidt.
Joe, have we, I'm trying to, based on what your response was to Pam Willihan on that taxes going down statement as opposed to going up.
Yep.
So what I'm trying to do is formulate a question for you, but have we gotten any indication from the county? Are they reassessing the values? Are the values inflating?
I haven't really gotten any real indication from them. We've gotten some property owners with pretty large increases in their value.
We did.
What the county does is a quintile, as they call it. Every 5 years, they review every property, and then they reassign values based on the market. I think some properties may have seen a larger bump than probably necessary, but that's up to the county and how they do their thing. I don't think in general that they're pushing property values up, but it is a standard operating procedure to look at every property every 5 years and make adjustments as needed.
Okay, then I just want to echo what Gary said, Councilmember Bakken, that you and your staff are to be commended for the job putting this together, so it's understandable. One thing I would ask is if you would indicate to the citizens here as well as to the council what you see as perhaps going forward to be a major concern in future years as far as the cost of running city government.
Well, I think we're at a point where we're trying to do two things that are, well, one thing that's very expensive, and that's build roads without levying debt service. We can maintain that pace for probably 5 or 6 years, providing the projects are kept to a minimal project. Beyond that, we're looking at probably cost of living type increases moving forward. We've just about stretched and shrunk every item as close as we can to budget. Every now and then it surprises me, we find some things, the weather is better this year or last year than it was the year before, and utilities maybe we're a little over budgeted as a result, but so you get a little give here and there, but by and large we take a very serious look at all the expenditures and try to make a reasonable assumption as to what we can live with and go from there. This is not an extravagant budget, and it hasn't been extravagant moving forward. Cost savings have been pushed towards revolving capital, which will hedge the future for equipment purchases and road improvements. We've got a fund balance policy that maintains 45% of the fund balance, and anything in excess of that goes to revolving capital fund for future improvements. I think we're doing a pretty decent job of trying to manage with what we've got without going crazy on levies.
Thanks, Joe. No further questions.
Nothing further than that.
What was Otto going to do, chop the levee with that thing?
Prune.
Approved.
He's got pruning shears in there.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded for Resolution 1524. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Resolution 1524 is approved. Next order of business is the mayor and city council reports. In your packet, you have the memo from the administrator on the possible sale of city-owned property along Airport Road. We received a letter from Dave Zorb of the Airport Preservation Group about the purchase of property that the city owns that abut Airport Road. The group would like to preserve these properties for along the runway for the use of pilots and hangars. And Joe, I'll let you explain maybe a little bit more on that, although his memo is pretty much straightforward.
We do have 4 properties that council may want to consider for sale. 3 of them are north, near Shaska Drive. The other one is a little further south. It's just north of the lift station on Airport Drive. Other than that, it's just, what does the council want to do? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to take a look at the values, and if so, how?
So the question before us here is, would we consider selling these? Do we want to hang on to them? My own personal opinion is I see no problem with getting them off the dead list and have them returned to tax-paying properties. I don't think the city really has any grand plans for those.
Mayor, can I
I'll take comments, please.
question, how did we come into having these lots as city-owned?
Well, I know they were all purchased by the city. I believe they were tax forfeited lots when they were purchased. The low area, which was where the lift station and the storm sewer pond was, were purchased for that purpose. And I think there was just a group of 3 that was together, and they purchased it at that time. I really don't know or understand why the northern piece that abuts Ski Chalet was purchased.
Mayor, in reviewing this, I don't disagree with you. I just as soon see the parcels go back on the tax rolls. I was just curious, usually when we come across tax forfeit properties that the city picks up, it's for a specific reason, generally stormwater or
Right.
something like that. And my understanding was if the city came in possession of those lots for a specific purpose, aren't we precluded from selling them?
As long as we paid for the property, they're fee title. If we were to be given those by the county, there would be a deed restriction, and then we could not. And we purchased all these properties.
Okay, that clarifies that. I guess I would think it would be prudent for us to get an appraisal. And the reason I'm saying that is my understanding is that the lots that have sold relatively recently on that airport property are going for far more than what the county has as a value on those lots. So I'd like to see an appraisal.
Okay.
Councilman Brony, any comments?
I'll echo what Otto's comments are. I don't think there's if there's no need for us to maintain all the lots, I think they can certainly be listed for sale. We have an interested party into them. I don't know if we need the necessary go through the appraisal process of us paying for the appraisal. I mean, we have no need to get rid of them. So I'd be interested to see if the interested party would be willing to front that cost of the appraisal.
That's a reasonable request.
We're talking, as I see, there were a couple of appraisal quotes.
Yes.
One was for $600,
Correct.
but I would think we could, if push comes to shove, I just as soon get rid of the lots and pay the $600 if,
Yeah.
I don't want to see that be a deal breaker, let's put it that way.
Yes.
I'd rather take the money off of the final sale price.
One can do that
Can we
too.
do that too?
Don't have any capital expenditure owed.
Yeah. Councilman Bakken, any comments?
I defer to Diane if she would go first, please. I like to keep things in a nice, peaceful I don't like to jump back and forth, then I get confused. I
Okay.
do have some comments, that's why I don't wanna belabor the deal.
Councilman Williams.
I'm looking at this picture, I don't know if people have that. The bottom lot, is that the one that you spoke of today, Joe, that's low? Is that the one?
Yeah, the most southern lot is low, and that's our storm sewer retention area.
So
So the next one up is the sanitary sewer.
we can see that on
Yeah,
there.
and then
the
the-
northern one
The
is,
northern of those three would be possible sale.
and that one is higher than?
It
or that-
kind of goes from low to high. It's got a kind of a sloping lot. It could be built on. It would take some fill.
See, I have a concern because water runs downhill. If we have any issues there, we would have a place to collect any backup situation. Then I have a question on the drawing. In the text, it says the lot we own touches ski chalet, but if I'm looking at this correctly, the blue lines don't show us a lot that touches ski chalet.
I believe that the northern lots are part of the right-of-way, the lots that would be just north of that.
So that
And if
is-
you look at the intersection of...
This part here is already road right away?
Yes, I mean, if you look at the intersection of Airport Road and Ski Chalet, it's right in the middle of those lots. Ski Chalet does not lie within the platted right-of-way very much.
Okay. So it's probably the road. Okay,
Yeah.
then, I know I don't know where this is with the fly zone or the no-fly zone and the high trees and all that business.
Yep.
But I know with the cemetery, they're having to have so many trees taken out for the airplanes. This is right at the end of the runway. Would that be limiting of what people could build there?
I don't believe
We're
so.
talking about hangars and stuff?
No, I don't think that would
Good
be of
Lord,
any
no, they're way
concern.
below
Yeah.
the highest tree.
Oh, I don't know.
Glide slope, I know.
Yeah, but the cemetery, those trees were far
I know,
away and they still
I
had
know,
to come.
I know. Below the glide slope.
Yeah, those are FAA guidelines as far as off the end of the runway to either side of the runway. They don't have guidelines.
Then I have another question. I'm really not excited to sell city-owned property. Once we've got it, I think there might be a reason to hang on to it. We've already paid for it, it's free right now for us. If we get an appraisal, does that go on the open market where we might get even higher purchase price, or are we locked in to have to sell it to this airport group?
Well, I guess that's up to you folks. I mean, they have made an offer or they've extended a desire to try to purchase these properties. We are under no obligation to sell it to them, but on the other hand, I don't know that we'd be doing this were it not for their request.
Also, in their letter, they don't even have the lots listed correctly.
Yeah, I know, I mentioned that to them. I didn't include that email.
Well, I'm just not in favor of selling city-owned property. We've got it, it's ours. I don't, it does happen to touch onto this, almost on the cemetery property, which there is a recreational use there too. I'm not in favor of selling them right now.
Councilman Buchan.
I thought it was gonna be shorter, or longer. Well, a couple quick comments. I totally agree with Councilman Schmidt and his analysis also. Councilman Maroney, two things come to point. I'd just like to make note of. In the Jerry Bonsack, the planning administrator, a couple of his notes, one way of ensuring long-term stability would include the purchase of the unused lots for an express purpose, and that is, of course, a hangar home. Secondly, the Breezy Point Airport Preservation Group is interested in purchasing these lots. They're very interested in that. And I'm involved to some degree with that organization, not real close, but I'm in touch and in tune with that, and spend some time with the manager, Cliff, discussing things. The purpose of the purchase of the lot is exactly as that first statement says, ensure the long-term stability of that airport, which is so vital to this community, so vital. And secondly, an underlying reason, I believe, and this is simply my opinion, it hasn't been expressed to me, but an underlying reason I suspect is to keep the continuity good. They're concerned about the hangars becoming junkyards and whatever. They want quality airport homes there to enhance the city and the airport, and I'm totally in support of it. Thank you.
Then I'll entertain a motion to direct the administrator to continue discussions onto the possible sale of these, and
So moved.
is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Further discussion?
Now, does this include an appraisal then?
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Basically just to continue negotiations with them.
Yep.
It's essentially, it's a non-binding approval of the city council to move forward with discussions on this, and the administrator has taken notes as to what our desires are, and that would be part of the negotiations.
Another point of clarity, do you want the $600 appraisal?
I'd take the lowest one. If you,
Fine with me.
is the guy a licensed appraiser? Is he?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think
Then that's fine. All those in favor?
that can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just so I understand, Joe, lot 40, 41, we're not talking about those lots because we have a purpose for those. It's
Correct. It's just the other three, or four, actually.
Okay, then 42, 46, 47, and 48?
I gotta get my map out. 47, 48, 46, and 42, correct.
Okay, got it.
That's all. Now we're okay.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
I guess I still had a clarifying question.
I did too.
Oh, okay, I thought we were ready. Okay, sorry. Go
We
ahead.
didn't go for comment. The motion was made and seconded, but is this, the $600, is that for us to pay out a capital expenditure, or is this to be paid by them, and if they so move forward with the purchase of the lot, they get reimbursed that from the property sale?
How do you want to do it?
I have my own way with it, but there's a motion on the floor in the second, so I wanted the clarification.
Well, this is part of the clarification of the motion.
I personally would like us not to have that capital expenditure, have the interested party pay for the appraisal, and if they so go forward with this lot sale, then that
Okay.
$600 or the appraisal cost could be removed.
Yes.
That's acceptable.
Yes.
Yeah, it's acceptable.
That was one of my major points there. That's it.
Okay, now we're ready for the question.
Question.
Oh,
Was there any significance to the numbers on the lower three lots being highlighted in yellow versus the other one?
No, I just think when we pulled out the map, we just dotted it because we knew those had public purposes, I think. Kathy, do you remember?
And I want to clarify the appraisal. Each lot will come back with its own value, not as a big,
That's as I understand it, but I'll make sure that that's the case, yes.
okay. Any other comments? We're ready for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
aye.
The motion to proceed on the negotiations is approved. Next item of business is the planning commissioner appointment. Following the resignation of Commissioner Amy Gitchell, we advertised for replacement, and I received two qualified candidates. Candidates were Roger Theis of 29676 Lakeshore Drive and Daniel Zack, 9045 Breezy Point Boulevard. I did have the opportunity to interview both candidates, and my recommendation is to appoint Roger Theis to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Motion to approve the appointment of Roger Theis would be. Second to that? Okay, so moved.
Second?
Second, okay. Comments?
Question, during your interview, Is Roger a full-time resident of
Yes.
Breezy? Okay. And he understands that they generally meet once a month and
Yes.
so on? Okay. My concern is that they have so few members that if you get into a situation where one isn't showing up or even, that gets to be problematic, so.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome to the Planning Commission, Roger Theis.
Oh, it's here.
Front row.
Roger's
Your first
here.
meeting's tomorrow. Tomorrow night.
Which has been canceled.
Cancel,
Oh, it has?
Yeah,
right here.
see,
Oh,
that's what they told me.
it,
No,
no, it
not
should be,
till January.
it was supposed to be December 8th, but it was canceled
For the month.
for the month. Okay.
So you got to break right off the bat.
Right. The next item I'd like to mention is, I think many of you saw the news release for from the Humphrey School of Public Affairs. The city of Breezy Point was awarded recognition for their police paramedics program. And the thing I would really like to point out on this is that the police paramedics have been doing this dual role for quite a while. And it's rather unique to the state of Minnesota. And it is outstanding for what they do. Not only have we been recognized by the county as being having significant personnel within that organization, but now we're recognized by the state of Minnesota, well, basically by the Humphrey School. And when you look at the list, Breezy Point, with its 2,400 people, is getting a major award, competing against cities like Rochester, St. Paul, Brooklyn Park, New Brighton, City of Minneapolis. I mean, we're right up there with the big boys. And we have one of the best police forces in the state of Minnesota, I think. So kudos to our to our police department. And then the next thing just received from the police chief is Coffee with a Cop on December 16th. Coffee House, Breezy Point Resort, from 1 to 5, to sit down and talk with the police and have a cup of coffee, get to know the police officers. I would welcome everybody to show up for that. Can we get that, Dan, can we get that into the Echo so that we can get some recognition? Yes. Oh, he got an email too? Good. But that seems like, put it on your calendars, it'll be a very good thing to do. Do you have any more comments on that, Chief, that you would like to make, or?
Just that I'm not going to be there for 4 hours. And the entire department is not going to be there
I
for
hope not.
4 hours. But we would welcome anyone else to visit.
What day is December 16th? What day of the week is the 16th?
Thursday.
1 to 5
At the resort.
at the resort.
You're buying the donuts and the coffee, of course.
Donuts are extra. It's the new coffee house they put up, so
They have really good coffee.
nice place.
Reports from the council members. I'll start with you, Councilman Buchan,
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Williams.
Well, in the Breezy brief, I know there was a comment in there about the disc golf having been played and getting good reports on our disc golf course, so that is very exciting. So I hope it'll get a lot of activity and playtime next spring.
I did happen to mention that the disc golf course had opened at, there was a meeting of the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway, and because this is directly off the County Road 11, it's considered as an asset to the Breezy Point Scenic Byway, and I did say I would get them a write-up with directions and instructions on it. Could you put something together for me? Mike, on that, since you're one of the big champions on it?
For directions?
No, the, just
Yeah.
the write-up
We're
on them,
getting
the
there.
description and that kind of stuff.
Got a lot of ideas.
Probably.
We'll work on it.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
I was gonna follow that up with our designer. Is he still working on the course design, Matt?
The second 9 has already been designed. The guys have been working on it on and off. We should get it constructed next summertime sometime. But Tim's done.
There's gonna be another 9 holes. Right now it's 9 holes, it's gonna be a total of 18.
Yeah.
But the front 9, he's got yardage and stuff put
Yep,
together?
yep, all that's done.
Put the resort out of business, huh?
Oh, fill the resort. Neil can fill his rooms all the time now, just golf players.
Right. Anything else? Councilman Schmidt?
Just wanted to let the council know, and also the Echo is going to be getting a release on this from the Cable Commission, the Heartland Cable Commission. We again are going to be offering 4 $1,500 scholarships for the 2016-2017 school year, and applications will be made available through either myself or the chairman, Bruce Gallus. But this will all be noted in the news releases that are going out. The new rub this year is, for the first time, non-traditional students will be eligible. We are specifically beating the bushes, so to speak, because we understand there's a need out there. A non-traditional student is defined as an individual who has a period of time removed from high school, for example, 5 years. They're going back to school to get a degree or a certificate to enhance their job activities, as far as their job search activities. And we feel very good about offering this for the first time, and we're hopeful we'll get a number of non-traditional applications from students. So
I think that's a great thing, I know.
Yeah,
That's a very great thing.
it's well worthwhile. The recipients in the past, we've been doing this now for 6 years, I believe. And the one thing that I would note, and when you look at, for example, at Pequot High School, the other awards that are provided, actually the Heartland Cable Commission's award of $1,500 per student is one of the highest offered. So we're very pleased to be able to do that. The caveat is, again, this will be explained in the news release, is the student, either traditional or non-traditional student, must reside in the Heartland Cable Service area. And again, that will so be indicated, but it's basically the Jenkins, Pequot, Breezy Point service area that is serviced by Charter Communications. So that's all I have on that.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Next order of business is one of our favorites, the banner and sign, temporary signs, ordinance 1502. This is our second shot at planning and zoning having a public meeting and meeting with the stakeholders on it. We've been through this multiple times. Kind of the synopsis of the new ordinance is that it provides up to 5 advertising units, only one of which may be a temporary sign. And the code will also now allow that 5 units be the use of these feathers or ampersands or whatever they want to call them, which are used as advertising vehicles that our ordinance previously had not included. At this point, I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance 1502, and then we'll have questions.
So moved.
Second?
Councilman Bakken has,
No comments.
No comments.
Hats off to the planning commission for wrestling it out, and to everybody that was involved. I think it's an amicable agreement.
Councilman Maroney.
As part of the committee that met for the second time, with the council being there, planning, zoning, and the business community, And I think there was, everybody was on the same page, but it just wasn't clarified in the language. So I think it was good that hash that out and get everything down on paper that everybody could agree to, I think. So I think in the long run, I think it was a great outcome for what we have in front of us.
Councilman Schmidt.
Well, I was told if this doesn't pass tonight, I don't have to come home, so. But I do have some questions. The thing that I was somewhat curious about is in the definition, is when you talk about, I think they called them feather signs?
Feathers, yeah.
Feathers, okay. Is that considered to be a permanent or temporary?
Usually those are a temporary banner kind of item.
Okay. But that doesn't mean it has to change every 30 days or whatever.
No, the only item in the language would be that the portable freestanding sign, the reader boards, if you would, the blank slates that you put your own verbiage on there, are the items that we're looking for it to change out. That's the purpose of the temporary signs, reader boards, is that the message can change without a large investment.
And then as far as the deterioration of the devices or signs, that's going to be determined by the planning commission,
That is a correct statement.
according to the verbiage anyhow.
Yes.
But again, my assumption is that it's going to be up to staff to enforce that.
Planning Commission needs to, yes.
Yes.
Planning Commission needs to acknowledge that that's a problem and we'll deal with it.
That's all the questions I have.
Councilman Williams.
Kind of going down where the road where Otto was leading. This is pretty, my deteriorated sign may be fine for Gary. So, and then I have a question, are all these things defined with examples, what a banner is versus a streamer versus a flag versus a flag type banner versus a portable sign versus a feather? I don't know what the difference would be on some of those things. And then this are they not all freestanding, or are they all supposed to be attached onto the building? Because this freestanding is a banner, a freestanding like a hunk of canvas with those metal T-posts pounded in the ground?
Yep.
Isn't that not freestanding?
We used to prohibit freestanding, now we're allowing
Wait,
freestanding.
is that thing pounded in the ground with a canvas stretch, is that freestanding? or
That's
not?
what we're considering as freestanding, correct?
So
But
these
that
other
would be a
banners,
banner. That would be a banner.
It would be a banner.
what if they like nail it to their building? Is that a banner?
Still a banner.
Still a banner.
So, see, I'm confused on some of these definitions. I don't know who's gonna run around and count the 30 days. I don't know who's gonna go around and determine what level of deterioration, fading, and unsightliness. I don't like this. I think we're pretty generous what we already allow, and I like to keep the appearance standards a little higher than in some other communities I've visited. I'm just not in favor of this at all. I think there's far too much stuff going to be hammered in the ground and pasted on the buildings, and unenforceable.
Commissioner Bakken.
Final comment, I neglected and I apologize to the business holders and entities here tonight. They were an integral part of the negotiations, and my hat's off to them equally. Good job for everybody.
Okay, any other comments? All those in favor of ordinance 1502?
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
1502 is passed. Finally. Next order, summary, second? Is there a second to the?
Second.
Okay. To publish the summary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Publication is approved. Next item of business is rezoning of property on Deacon's Lodge Edition, it's ordinance 1509. Planning Commission held a public hearing on November 10th and recommended approval of changing in the zoning classification. And so ordinance 1509 has been provided for consideration. Councilman Bakken, can you fill us in maybe a little bit more on this?
No?
Okay.
How's that for a short answer? I'll defer to the
Joe?
boss to my right.
White
I read
Birch
through
is,
this, it seemed pretty straightforward.
it is
but-
pretty straightforward. White Birch acquired these 3 lots. They were not part of the original Deacon's Golf Course purchase. They were separate. They were, once purchased, they asked that they be rezoned to a resort commercial. The intended purpose is vacation rentals more than 4 times per year. They understand that's a conditional use permit for another action, but the first step in the process is the rezoning.
This is very similar to what we did over here in Poplar Drive, where they had the Wright House now.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd move ordinance 1509.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments? Councilman Schmidt?
No.
No.
Councilman Bakken? Councilman Williams?
No.
Councilman Moran?
The other, no.
All those in favor of ordinance 1509 to rezone the property?
Aye.
Opposed? Property is hereby rezoned. And then, as far as updating the zoning map and all that kind of stuff, that will happen.
That will happen. We'll probably won't do it until after the discussion for the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
There's a few more items we need to talk about.
And then, next item of business is our favorite Lot 40, Block 4, White Birch 4, where we stopped the road a little bit short. So, in reading this, it sounds like the lady is agreeable to swapping the lots now? Or?
She's agreeable to swapping. We did not have an opportunity to talk about the costs that I identified,
Okay.
but I think she would like to move forward with that.
Okay, so what are we looking for here? Just guidance as to what to move forward, or?
I think it'd be a motion to allow for the trade of the properties, provided she pays the expenses associated with that trade.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Further discussion? Councilman Williams?
No.
Councilman Bakken?
None.
Councilman Barone? Councilman Schmidt? All those in favor of proceeding with the negotiations for the swap of the lots on White Birch 4?
Aye.
Move forward. And one of the last things we need to do in the year is to have that final meeting in December so we can approve the bills and things like that before the end of the year. We have some, and this is typically a very short meeting, 10 to 15 minutes. It says 5 to 10, but usually by the time we get done talking, it's 15 minutes or so. The dates that we could consider would be Thursday the 17th, Monday the 21st, or Tuesday the 22nd. Those seems to be the most logical dates. We do have a little bit of a conflict on the 22nd, and that we would have to be out of here before 6. Is there any preferences on dates? My own preference would be the Monday the 21st.
Second that preference.
Any other, can everybody make Monday the 21st?
5 o'clock.
5?
Time.
Every time you want.
I don't have my schedule for that. I may not make it,
Okay.
but if there's enough of you.
Yeah. If you have to work, I really appreciate you going to work because you have
I know.
to pay my social security.
That's true. And I know.
Okay, motion to hold our final meeting for the year on Monday the 21st. All those in favor?
Monday,
At
say
what
that date
time?
again?
Monday the 21st,
Do
First.
you want
I
to
thought
include the
said
time in
third.
that? Time, do you want to include the
5
time?
o'clock.
5.
Okay.
In and out.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Monday the 21st it is. And then our last item of business is the annual liquor license renewals. We have the 7 businesses listed there. And the approval of these licenses would be conditional on all of the compliance documentation being submitted to the police chief. consider a motion to approve these liquor license.
So moved.
Renewals. Is there a second?
Second.
Comments? Commissioner Pocken?
No feathers.
No.
I just have a question.
Yes.
As far as documentation, that would include if there were any delinquent taxes.
They have to pay their delinquent taxes. Obviously, they got to pay for the license fee and those sorts of things. Sewer bill has to be up to date.
Okay, that's stated as documentation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilman Schmidt?
You notice it says Chief Mershman will comment if there are any concerns issuing the permits, and so far he hasn't commented, and I believe there are no issues.
There are none, there's one organization that I still have to do a background, we haven't received the release. And I don't expect an issue, they passed last year, so hopefully it'll have a, within a day or two.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
All those in favor of liquor license renewals as shown here?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Liquor license renewal. And one last item of business. Thank you to Woodstead Smith and Nolting. There is some candy up here on the desk. And for all those who so desire to have some candy before they leave, please feel free to come in and grab a handful because I don't need it.
Don't eat
Meeting is adjourned.
You don't eat candy?